Hi, I'm Christopher, a research software engineer with Research Software Workshops, and it's a very warm welcome to Introducing Version Control with Git, Part 7. The link is at the bottom of the page here, and we're on the Seeing the Changes Diffing section, which if you click on that, you should find a page that looks something like this. Now we're going to be working at the command line. We're in versioned dir. We can see we have readme.md and something.md, and git status shows that our working tree is clean. Okay, Git is always looking to see what has changed in your working directory. Git can tell you what has changed by using the git diff command. So if I type git diff now and hit return, nothing is printed because our working tree, our current directory, is identical to the version that was last saved into Git. There are no differences. Now let's try and make a change. So for example, if I have a look at my readme.md again, so nano readme.md, notice here we've said that the cat goes woof. Now obviously this is incorrect, so let's now change this to be the cat goes meow. I will save the file. If I type git status, we can now see that the file readme.md has been modified. That means the version in my directory, in the working tree, is different to the version that we last saved to Git. Now, this shows that Git knows that readme.md has changed, but to see what the change is, we can type git diff. Git diff now shows an output. It says, look, readme.md has changed. In the version that's saved in Git, there was the line, will say the cat goes woof, but now that line has been removed and instead a new line has been added which says, will say that the cat goes meow. Note that if you're lucky, you'll see all of this in colour, as I do have here, but if you don't see it in different colours, then you can type the command git config --global color.diff space auto, and then you run git diff again and it should colorise everything. Now what this output, which is a little bit overcomplicated, shows is that Git knows that the file readme.md has changed, with the line that said the cat goes woof has been removed, and the line that says the cat goes meow has been added. Now by default, git diff will show you all of the changes that have occurred in this directory since the last commit. Now you can limit the output to only a specific file by using git diff and then the name of the file. So for example, git diff readme.md will show just the differences within the file readme.md. And indeed if I type git diff something.md, I'm saying give me the differences in something.md, and of course in this case we haven't changed something.md, so it will print nothing to the screen. Now I'm going to Control L this, git status, here we are. We can see that we have modified readme.md, but maybe you didn't want to save this change, maybe this was a mistake. Now remember that the old version of the file, where the cat goes woof, is safely saved in Git. We can revert back to the old version of readme.md by using the command git checkout. If we type git checkout main and then the name of the file we wish to revert, in this case readme.md, that will then tell Git to revert back to the last saved version of this file, the last saved version of readme.md. If I hit return now, it's now updated the file. If I type git status, my favourite command, our working tree is clean because when I look at readme.md, Git has changed it back to the last version which was saved in Git, which was where the cat goes woof. Now in this case, I do want the cat to go meow, or indeed if you would like, you could change this to the dog goes woof, it's your choice. But I'm going to change it to cat goes meow and save the file again. Git status, yes, I have actually made that change. And then if I now want to save this change, that means committing again these files to Git. So that's git commit -a. Remember, git commit means save a new snapshot version of the file to the repository. I have to enter a commit message, and my commit message here could be fixing a typo in readme.md, cats do not go woof. Okay, Control X to save. Yes, I want to save. Hit return. It's now saved this new version of the file. And indeed, when I do git status, working tree is clean. And when I look at the file, yep, the cat is going meow. Okay, that's worked all the way through this page. You can now see on our Git cheat sheet, we have two new commands that we have to add to the cheat sheet. Git diff, that prints the differences between what's in my working directory and what was last saved into Git. And Git checkout, which we can use to revert the working directory back to what it was for the last version that we had saved in Git. So Git init, initialize version control. Git status, show us the status of all the files in the working directory. Git add a new file to be tracked, so Git will track the version. Git commit, save all of the tracked files as they are now as a new version, as a new commit within Git. Then Git diff, tell Git to show the differences between the files in the working directory and the last saved version in the Git repository. This will show the differences for all tracked files, but you can use git diff and the name of the file, for example git diff readme.md, to just limit to only a single file. And then git checkout main file name means tell Git to revert a file back to the last version of file name saved in the directory in the repository. Again, this is 6 commands. I told you there's only 10. We're now more than halfway through. Okay, we're now on to this exercise. I would like you to make a change to your file called something.md. Make some changes, like add some new lines, change some words, whatever you would like to do. Then use git status and see, does Git know that you've changed something.md? Use git diff. Does Git correctly print out all of the changes? Does it find them all? Use git diff readme.md. Do you see that nothing has changed in readme.md? You've only changed something.md. And then finally use git checkout main something.md to revert the file back to the last saved version. Has this correctly restored the old version? Once you've checked it has, make some more changes to something.md and then use git commit -a to commit that change, thus saving a new version of this something.md. Does git diff now show that there are no changes? Hopefully it will. And hopefully at that point your git status should show that the working tree is clean. Okay, press pause, have a go at this, and when you come back from pause, I'll show you the answer. Okay, you've now unpaused, so I will go through this myself in my directory. Okay, let's Control L, clean the screen. Okay, first thing we're going to do is just change something.md and make some changes. So I am adding a new line, and I'm going to delete the first line. Okay. When I do git status, it does actually show Git has seen that something.md has been modified. That's good. When I do git diff, it's seen that we've deleted this line at the top, the one that I removed, and indeed you can see it's added the line that I've added. Git has noticed that I made those changes. Now if I do git diff readme.md, it shows there are no changes in readme.md. The change is only in something.md. Now, next we need to revert back to the version that was last saved into Git, into the repository. We do that by typing git checkout main and then the file we want to revert, something.md. There we are. And if I now do git status, we see the working tree is clean. The files in my directory in the working tree are exactly the same version and match those that were last saved to the repository. And indeed, when I look at something.md, you can see that I've still got that first line, and that third line I added has now disappeared. We've gone back to the last version. In this case, I really want to add this line. Let's add a new line like that. Control L to just clear the screen. Git status, it's seen that something.md has been changed. Git diff again, it's seen that I really wanted to add that new line. And then I'm going to commit this now with git commit -a. That means save a new version snapshot to the repository. And I'll put in a commit message, made some changes to show that I can add a new line. Control X, Y, hit return. And there the working tree is clean. And if I do git diff, the working tree is clean. There is nothing that's changed, no differences to be printed. Okay, that's the end of this part of the workshop. I look forward to seeing you in the next part.